The Punisher is one of those characters that can't get enough of that seductive reboot button. 4 very different actors have portrayed Frank Castle in the live-action world. But in this video, we're only going to be comparing the 2 of the most grounded in reality, mainly because of the 2 reasons I'm going to talk about in a bit. But I always gotta clarify this before anything else. This video is not meant to argue who is a better actor, or which movie or TV show is better, but which version of Frank Castle would just utterly destroy the other in an imaginary fight. So none of that really matters in this case. We're playing pretend. So back to why there are only 2 Punishers in this versus video. First reason is cause, if you've seen how these versus mirror matchups work, these things only work with only 2 characters or 2 teams with an even number of characters. Secondly, as suggested earlier, the other 2 Punishers are almost otherworldly. They're like on totally different levels from these 2. One's got ridiculously hilarious situations and imagery, and the other is ludicrous in the realm of physics. So sorry my guys, all we can do is dream of what could have been. I might do a battle between these 2 sometime in the future, but if you really wanted to know who would win, or who would win in a battle between these 4 at the same time, wait till the end of this video and I'll let you know. One more thing, many of you are probably aware of the fan film Dirty Laundry, which is available on YouTube. It's a pretty cool video, about 10 minutes long, and it actually also features the guy who played the Punisher in 2004, Thomas Jane, this boy. But the thing is, that short film isn't really canon. Even though it has the same actor playing a character with the same name, it doesn't take place in the same universe. It's labeled as a part of the director's bootleg universe, meaning it's not really an official continuation of the 2004 story, but more like this Elseworld storyline. Best way I can put it, Dirty Laundry is the McDonald's French fries, and the 2004 film is Burger King's. They're both fries, but they're from 2 different places. So even though I thought it was dope, Dirty Laundry will not be taken into account of for this versus video. We'll be focusing only on the 2004 Punisher movie for Jane, and Daredevil Season 2 and Punisher Season 1 for Bernthal. So spoilers for anything and everything that has these 2 beautifully chiseled faces as the Punisher in them. To match these 2 up, we'll be dividing the categories into strength, speed, intelligence, endurance, and equipment. Alright, I've been talking for a while and we still haven't done much. We're starting now. Punisher is not one of those guys who can lift 10 billion tons, but he is one of those characters that is at near peak physical condition. In this part, we're not so much talking about how much they can lift, but how much force they can exert. Because let's face it, what are they gonna do? Bench each other to death? Both of these guys are pretty ripped physically, but in straight up close quarters combat, the difference between the 2 striking powers are vastly different. The Marvel Cinematic Universe Punisher was easily capable of crunching and snapping people's necks like Rice Krispies in nearly every scene he was in. Thomas Jane's ain't no slouch either. He overpowered your average henchman with a simple flick of the wrist, breaking a bone or 2, but despite that, he hasn't really shown much beyond that. Most of his fight scenes include guns and explosives and whatnot, but he doesn't seem like he's a guy that does a lot of punching and kicking. There's this one fight scene where he basically gets thrown around like a pasty ragdoll, and that's when he's fighting Kevin Nash in a Waldo shirt. Most of the combos he does to him don't really do that much damage to him, because the tough guy is essentially resistant to basic attacks. So we can't really say much on that end. And that's it! These are legit the only 2 he ever gets into a head-to-head fight with in close quarters combat. Everyone else that dies in the film are either gunned down or just destroyed by someone else. Bernthal's showcase is just much more impressive when looking at things objectively. He took on 8 guys with maybe some help of some environmental objects, but he utterly crushes this guy's head like a grapefruit in his armpit. Like all he did was just flex his chest and bicep, and you just hear the crunchiest of munching ever. Might I add, though we always see heroes and villains easily kill people by snapping their necks, don't let it fool you that it's not extremely difficult to do. 80% of the time, that move won't kill them instantaneously. And yet he does it like he's just finishing up his history assignment in math class. And he's also gone toe-to-toe with Daredevil, a guy who's armored to the brim and is literally a ninja. Not really shaming the other one for being too reliant on guns and such, cause I mean that's what the Punisher is all about. And this one uses them quite a bit too. But just saying, with what we're given and shown, this Punisher dishes punches and neck snaps with much more force. Not to mention, he played whack-a-mole on this dude's corpse for a good 10 seconds straight. Bernthal takes the first point. Speed is one of those things that can mean a lot of things. It can mean stuff like how fast one can throw or dodge attacks, quick draw weapons, and just flat out booking it. We're gonna take into account all three of these things. As far as who fares better in combat speed, Bernthal easily takes it. Daredevil is a master martial artist, so for this Frank to keep up with him at such a high pace is nothing to gloss over. That's like taking notes in class with a teacher who just refuses to slow down when they talking. Twice the speed of light right there. And he even managed to whip out a gun on him, something Daredevil is notoriously known for dodging because of his radar sense, which is said by Stan Lee to be much more stronger than Spidey's spider sense. The 2004 one was also really quick in drawing weapons out, so I'm not really sure as who quick draws at a faster pace. But as for flat out running speed, Bernthal's was able to outrun a pipe bomb explosion. That doesn't mean he was running at like Mach 23 or Mach 30, not even something like
ammunition, replenish the Punisher with his gun and your hunter words and a clip all that with mother.
But these types of explosions can be traveling up to speeds of up to 4,400 meters per second. Sure, that big metal door may have lowered the speed of that by a bit, but judging from how close the detonation was to Frank and how far he was from safety, he would have had to been running over 300 miles per hour. It doesn't look like he's running nearly as fast as that, but hey, that's the way they wanted to illustrate the Punisher, so that's not much we can do there. The Marvel Cinematic Universe Punisher brings home another point. Knowing and anticipating what people are gonna do next is crucial to the Punisher's way of work. Jane and Bernthal both have shown that they can predict where and how people are always gonna act before they even do it. Sabotaging doorways and shooting explosives hidden in the lights above the enemies. That's like straight up taking multiple food samples from the food section, saying they're for your friends, but they're really just for you. That's a whole new level of thinking right there. In the 2004 film, Castle rigged an entire building with traps and tricks, and Bernthal disgustingly hides blades within his skin and lures the guilty to exploding vehicles. It's almost a toss-up here, but I'd probably give a very slight edge to the dude from the old movie. He went above and beyond by making this convoluted plot to make Howard Saint's not-so-straight best bud appear straight, convincing him that his wife is cheating on him with said guy, inducing paranoia within him, and then killing him by unnecessarily making his own character's logo out of flames. That's not to discredit Bernthal's character. He knew exactly where to shoot Matt in the head to threaten him and not kill him, so he clearly knows where the weak and breaking points are in the body. He's a very skilled marksman, and he even knows how to take out guys like Batman in misty, hard-to-see places. But Thomas Janes knew a lot of things that were gonna happen before they did in reality. Like legit, some of that stuff was just pure luck, and he just quote-unquote knew what his targets would do. Aside from that, both of these guys use their environmental surroundings when they can. Janes used that spicy super hot soup on the big one, and Bernthal used the knives that were stabbed into him against others. So this isn't by much, but I'd have to say Janes wins Intellect by just a hair. He even makes his own customized weapons, which I'll get into in a bit. Plus, when you're going up against an actual human being who carries red fire hydrants in their bag on the daily, you know this guy is thinking 20 steps ahead. Sure, it isn't practical, but Thomas Jane earns his first point here. Speaking of the fire hydrant, that'd probably serve as a better segue to the equipment section, so that's what we're going with. Punisher is most well known for being fully loaded with guns and ammunition, which both of these guys have, but one of them has some odd additions to the usual equipment. Jane's Punisher has these Inspector Gadget level tools that are just utterly baffling to think about. As stated earlier, he carries around fire hydrants around for, you know...
Hey, Sweet D, you want some of the Sweet D?
But he also carries this kunai blade shooter. The TV show one does have a wide variety of weaponry, no doubt about that, but so does this one. If they don't have any guns on them, Bernthal's doesn't really have anything that goes against that thing. As ridiculous as the concept of it is, it's basically a one-shot kill, and it's super small, so he can easily keep that in his pockets or something, and use it as a backup when he's away from his guns and whatnot. On top of that, the bulletproof vest that Jane has appears to be much more resilient to bullets than Bernthal's. These kinds of vests are protective, but they're usually completely useless when the user is being shot with a shotgun. And the 2004 Frank absorbed like 2 pelts from one up close. Bernthal's seems to struggle with stopping pistol power from a considerably farther distance away. Jane deserves this one. A lot of durability and endurance is necessary if you're trying to walk out of the most brutal of beatdowns. The 2004 Punisher has taken large amounts of blows from the Russian meathead. He was stabbed, punched, thrown, and smacked with the toilet and went through 2 walls. Going through walls like that requires around 1,000 newtons of force. That's devastating. On the other side though, you got Bernthal's, who was eating bullets like a lifeless meat shield, and he always kept getting back up. That hurts more than when you're left on red for a day. He also got drilled through the leg, with the blood spurting everywhere, got gutted by blades, and was legit shot through the head. People only have less than 10% of a chance of walking out of that. And he did it. As dangerous as it is being flung through wall to wall like a garbage bag, surviving bullets to the head is where things start to reach that level of superhumanness. I'm not downplaying the fact that James went through 2 walls, cause trust me, if that were me, I would've just preferred to jump out the window myself and make it quick. But gunshots to the head, surviving that is something else. You can keep working out, building your muscle, training yourself to tolerate more physical and emotional pain, but one thing you can't do is make your brain bulletproof or impervious to blades. You just can't. It's what keeps us running every day. It's the strongest part within the body, yet the weakest at the same time. That's something inside of you that'll always be vital and sensitive. And 1,000 newtons, though it sounds a lot and is probably more than painful, people have been known to walk away from nearly 3.5 times that same force and still not break a bone. Not to mention that the TV show Punisher went up against 8 guys in prison and received quite a beating from all of them. It ended up with him being covered in the goopiest of red liquids. Granted, none of them were as big as that Russian mercenary, but they were put in there for a reason, and it was a planned attack by the Kingpin. So they were more or less the toughest criminals on the block. Jane's too took bullets, but none of them were aimed towards the heart or the head, so that doesn't really stack against Bernthal's abilities. In the end, John Bernthal takes the final point. Here is the scoreboard with the end results. Thomas Jane's Punisher from 2004 does have some fancy equipment, and may go above and beyond with military tactics, but John Bernthal's Frank Castle has proved that he's got the strength, speed, and endurance to go toe-to-toe with another skilled marksman if they ever went to close quarters combat. They're both equally skilled with guns and whatnot, however, only one has shown that he can do well in a hand-to-hand fight. Jane's only real fisticuff fight was with the Russian guy, and he only got punched 3 times, whereas this guy has been literally gutted, shot, and brought back from the dead. He's essentially an undead dead person. There are numerous amounts of times where he was at death's door and he was all like,
"Oh, you wanna call it quits yet?"
Nah fam. He can soak in a lot before he truly goes down. I also didn't have the chance to talk about this sort of rage factor that the MCU Punisher has. When he gets super angry, the adrenaline rush inside makes him almost completely resistant to any sort of pain for just under a minute, as seen when Agent Orange was juiced in the 12th episode of Netflix's Punisher. It's something almost animalistic that acts, I guess, in a way like Wolverine's Berserker Rage, where he just goes ballistic on everyone around him. If he gets triggered in a fight with the Frank Castle from the early 2000s, and he most likely will since he ain't no slouch either, it basically means he's got 5 seconds to run. The Punisher from the Marvel Cinematic Universe is also a much more dirtier fighter, gouging out eyeballs whenever he can. And if he ever gets close, all he gotta do is snap his neck and it's game over. It's not a victory by a long shot, but the odds are more than likely to be in Bernthal's character's favor. The winner is John Bernthal's Punisher.
I think you're a half measure. I think you're a man who can't finish the job. I think that you're a coward. You know the one thing that you just can't see? You know you're one bad day away from being me.
So I mentioned earlier in the vid that I'd say who'd win between these 4 in a battle royale. So here, just click the first link in the description box. Or just type in Punisher Face Explode on the YouTube search bar, and it should be the first thing that pops up. I'd show the clip on here, but it's too graphic to show, and YouTube might bamboozle me with monetization rules. Tell them Gubz sent you. You can do that now, and come back after you watched it. It's only like 11 seconds long, or after this video. But I mean, yeah. The 2008 Warzone Punisher is basically Superman. Anyways, everyone, that's all for this video. Don't forget to let me know who should be next on the next versus video in the comment section below. And if you really like this video, then don't be shy. Be sure to slam that like and subscribe button. Also, don't forget to follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And for more of my videos, just click right here.